with them and all that. You want to be poor, it's up to you. I didn't want to be poor, okay? And number two, there's the middle class. There's a lot of them. But as you know today, 20 years later, the middle class is being hollowed out. There's no such thing as job security. Pay raises haven't gone up for the middle class. Technology is replacing people like driverless cars, artificial intelligence, and globalization. Jobs are moving overseas. So to be middle class today, it's very, very dangerous. So what makes Rich Dad different is we focus here. And if you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, 20 years ago, nothing's changed. As you know, my poor dad was a PhD in education. But what does school teach you about money? Did you learn anything about money at school? Most people don't. So that's why I had my rich dad, who was my best friend's father, and he was teaching me what the rich teach me. So look, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to be poor, I hate to say this, you can go to school, but you still won't learn anything about money. And education is more important today, but what do you learn about money? Most kids not going to school, they're coming out of school deeply in debt with student loans, still not learning anything about money. Look at the middle class. You know, they may have high-paying jobs, but the jobs are going away. And what makes Rich Dad different is we teach what the rich teach people. Make a decision where you want to be. If you're poor, and nothing wrong with being poor, because I've been poor once or twice, is your teacher, if you're poor, is Susie Orman. She's a great person. She'll tell you to cut up your credit cards and live below your means. For poor people, great financial advice. I personally don't like living below my means, and I love my credit cards. And if you're middle class, that's Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey's a good friend of mine, and he always says, live debt-free. That's not what I do. I love debt. See, if you're going to be rich, you have to learn how to use debt as money. So there's Dave Ramsey in here. There's also Tony Robbins, is very, very middle class. He talks about buying ETFs. So if you like stocks, bonds, mutual funds, saving money, that's not Rich Dad. What Rich Dad teaches people are people who want to be rich. I don't cut up my credit cards, I don't save money, and I don't invest in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, and I don't invest for the long term. We do everything different. If you want to learn what the rich are doing, that's us. You want to be middle class? There's Dave Ramsey and Tony Robbins. Great teachers, fantastic people. And if you're poor and struggling and deeply in debt, that's Susie Orman. They're great teachers. Decide where you want to be. There's financial education for poor people, middle class people, and we're for the rich. Even if you're not rich, you're here, you want to come here, that's what Rich Dad is for. Today, lots has changed. Rich Dad is more appropriate today, 20 years later, is because this comes from the second book, which is the cash flow quadrant. And the cash flow quadrant is about the four people that make up the world of business. E stands for employees. S stands for self-employed, small business guys, doctors, lawyers, and specialists. You know, they're self-employed. They work by themselves. And B stands for big business, 500 employees or more. And I stands for professional investor. These guys are passive investors. They invest in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and save money. These guys are entrepreneurs. They're like the people on Shark Tank, you know, Mark Cuban and those guys. So these are professional investors. These guys are passive investors. So people who buy ETFs, mutual funds, 401ks, IRAs, they're on this side. Okay. So very simply, this was my poor dad. And he always said, go to school, get a job. And my rich dad said, come over here and be a professional investor. So today I'm over here. Look, let me tell you one of the reasons the rich are getting richer or the poor are getting poor is very simply because it goes to taxes. Who pays the highest taxes? Well, all over the world, not just in the U.S., these people pay approximately 40% in tax. Why would you go to school to pay 40% in tax? Doesn't make sense. You know, Shouldn't financial education teach you how to pay less tax? And if you're a self-employed or a small entrepreneur or a doctor or a lawyer, you pay the highest taxes of all, 60%. So many people today are quitting their jobs and becoming entrepreneurs here only to pay more taxes. Does that make sense to you? It doesn't to me. But if that's what you like, stay here. These people over here, these are like Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg. They pay 20% in tax. They have over 500 employees. This is where I'm at today. And in the rich dad world, 0% taxes, legally. So this is what real financial education is about. You see, on this side, you don't need financial education. Just go to school and you don't learn anything about money. You work hard, you pay high taxes. You need financial education to make it here. You're happy staying here? That's your choice. Again, this is Tony Robbins, Dave Ramsey, and Susie Orman. This is where you're at. Buy mutual funds, ETFs, and those things. Over here is where the rich are at. So Rich Dad teaches this side of it. And you must have financial education over here. You don't need it over here, but you must have it over here. So what makes Rich Dad different is we teach people to move to this side. This is the good news. You can keep your job and still move here. You can be in two places. And you can be self-employed or a small business or a doctor or a lawyer, and you can still come here or here. So that's the difference between Rich Dad and the poor and middle class, is that because it takes financial education to move to this side. What makes the Rich Dad company different, and what makes our type of financial education very, very different? Once again, you don't need financial education here. Just be a good, hardworking person, pay a lot of taxes. On this side, you must have financial education. Today, if you're an employee, you're in trouble. Face it, you'll pay more tax. Financial education, real financial education, should include education about how debt makes the rich richer, because you don't need money then. If I can borrow money, and taxes. The more money I borrow, the less tax I pay. It's really opposite.
You know what? That's a great point. They don't teach these real wealth building principles in school. The teachers were never even taught these principles. So how could they?
Amen.
Robert, people are so desperately trying to get free from the grind of trading their time for money, and they never seem to get ahead. They really only have two choices. They either play the game that is designed to crush them, or they play the game that's designed for only the rich to win. They just need to know the rules. But these two games have totally different outcomes and rules. So they do need to decide. Am I right?
I'm not saying one is right or wrong, I don't want to be poor. I want to be rich. So, I'd rather be rich. I don't really want a job. I don't want Social Security. I don't want Medicare. I don't want the government to take care of me. Now, if you do, fine. That's not my choice. Most of my friends are counting on Social Security. They have a government pension, and they've got savings. That's obsolete thinking.